Good Monday evening, everyone, and welcome to a national championship as Tony Vitello and the Tennessee baseball team have won the national title, a 6-5 win over Texas A&M. Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, glad to have you along with us. Jump on in here, ask your questions, throw your comments in there. We'd love to hear from you. Hopefully going to have a couple of special guests join us. We might get Eric Kane from the field. We got all kinds of things hopefully going on for you here in a post-game deal. Austin, pretty surreal to watch. This team was so good all season long. For them to find a way to hit the big arm, to get the runs. And again, it's been all about a bunch of different guys finding a way. I mean, the Hunter Inslee slide proved to be the difference in the game, right? I mean, it's crazy, this team. And Tony Vitello said it post-game just about what being a good teammate is. This team is full of good teammates, and that's why they're standing where they are at the top of the mountain right now as the national champion.
Yeah, what a performance, Hubbard. I mean, really, when you think about just kind of the guts they all showed, from right, down from the first, at bat with Christian Moore all the way to Aaron Combs, who threw some 60 pitches last night and looked filthy on those strikeouts in the ninth inning. I mean, it got hairy. I mean, it gets so hairy. And then you really go back. I mean, Hunter Inslee looking like the Matrix out there on that slide ends up being the pivotal run. Tennessee wins it 6-5.
Yeah, it's crazy. And again, Xander Sechrest, what a story. I mean, there's so many stories within this team, Austin, when you look at this season. And listen, Christian Moore and Blake Burke and those guys are obviously big time guys. Drew Beam, you knew was going to be a big time guy. Yep. But all the little side stories on this team that made them a champion. Xander Sechrest, who, and let's face it, if AJ Russell doesn't get hurt, he's not a starter on the weekend. He was Tennessee's best starter for the last month of the season, and it really wasn't close. No offense to Drew Beam, who had two great starts in the College World Series.
No doubt.
But so did Xander Sechrest, right? I mean, it's Sechrest, it's Dylan Dreiling, it's Hunter Inslee, who struggled a good bit of the year. It's Cal Stark hitting a home run yesterday. I mean, it's the two-out hitting of just a bunch of different players making a bunch of different plays that has Tennessee setting where they are right now, and it's their first ever national championship in baseball.
Yeah, and this team just all year long, they personified a never give up mentality. You go back. I mean, how many series are early in SEC play did they have to go to a deciding game 3? I think this was old hat for them. Going into this, when they lost that first game, they didn't flinch. I think a lot of ball fans flinched when it was the 7th inning. Yesterday, they had scored. But man, Dylan Dreiling, dude, what a series! I mean, he goes over 500 from the plate in the College World Series in the championship game alone, and hit a home run in every game. Was fantastic. I mean, was unbelievable. And it really was crazy that ball, when the wind was blowing from right field to left field, that his ball just barely creeped over the wall. I mean, it was wild just how successful he was. He hit the ball fantastic. This group will be forever remembered, and just kind of etched in, stone and just so many different personalities. You're right. You look at the personalities on this team. Sechrest, Cal Stark. I mean, for a Knoxville kid to do what he did, all year long, just kind of timely home run hitting. He wouldn't hit for average, but when he got those key home runs, man, they proved to be so pivotal all year. They found ways to get things done. They manufactured through a pitching staff that wasn't the best under Frank Anderson because they didn't have the most talent, but they just figured out a way. They figured out a way every time. Have not lost a series. The only series they lost all year was to Alabama to start SEC play.
And that's the only time. Yeah, and that's the only time they lost back-to-back games all year long, which is crazy. Bullet 533 said, "Did you ever think you would see this day 5 years ago?" I mean, no. Who did? I mean, when you think about it, Austin, I mean, you go back, and obviously there's a lot to unpack for what happened this weekend in the last 10 days in Omaha. But you go back to um, the press conference where Tony Vitello, it was about as hot at that press conference as it was in Omaha tonight, by the way. Go back to that press conference where he's standing up there because they did the press conference in the infield, and they introduce him, and you go, okay, well, they've hired another baseball coach. Like, here's a guy with no experience. He's never been a head coach. This is the best they could get. Nobody really wanted this job. That they've taken a chance on an up and comer. I mean, one of the questions at the press conference was about how good looking he was, and about that. I mean, that was that was an introductory press conference question to Tony Vitello 7 years ago. And now you got people on here in the comment section calling him the Saban of college baseball. That's probably a little premature there, but Austin, I mean, to think about where they were to where they are now, which is just crazy to think about what they've done, and how far that this program has come, and just the impact that this program has had in the community and around the state is just, I mean, it's pretty remarkable when you think about it. I mean, it's just, I never saw it coming. I mean, I mean, I've covered them,
Who
seen games
would?
93, 94. I never thought it would be anything like this.
Who would have? I mean, when he took over, they hadn't been to the SEC tournament since the Reagan administration. And I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I mean, like, the point is like they couldn't. They were in the bottom two in the league. They couldn't get to Hoover. Like, they couldn't. At times. Then they couldn't get to the NCAA tournament. Then they kind of did that first year, and he just kind of COVID kind of maybe stunned it a little bit, but they just kept coming, kept plugging. He kept recruiting. He did exactly what he did at TCU. Listen, Tony's a good coach. Tony's king right now. Frank's a good pitching coach. Elander's fantastic. Still boils down to Jimmys and Joes, and nobody knows that better than Tony Vitello. That dude is a recruiting machine. You can bet on one thing: Tennessee's going to have this championship celebration. Maybe not tomorrow, but Wednesday or Thursday. If you want to go celebrate with him, they're going to have that thing, and then because he's got to get the road recruiting, he's going to have to replace near this whole team, and he loves that. He wants that challenge. So, I mean, yeah, who would have saw it 5 years ago when when Lindsey Nelson was decaying, and now all of a sudden you've got porches, and you've got expansions and $100 million projects, and Danny White's inking the new deals with Tony Vitello. Would expect that to be announced relatively quick, right, Hubbard?
Yeah, I think that, listen, they've been working on that one for a while, and Tony, if anybody spent any time with Tony, or if you listen to Tony, it's not about Tony, which it may not seem that way to outsiders, Austin, to fan bases of other schools, because he's demonstrative in the dugout. He'll argue with umpires and everything else, but it's really not about Tony. And he did not want to take anything away from this team. He did not want to make anything over the last week and a half about him in terms of a contract extension or anything else. This was about this team and this team only, and go from there. But there's a reason Danny White's been working on this thing for a long time this season to get this done, to make him one of the highest paid coaches in baseball, if not the highest paid coach. He'll be one or two, and I think he will have a salary pool for his assistant coaches higher than anybody else in the country, which is what he's demanding more than he is anything for himself. So yeah, that's coming down the pike. Let's go back to this game in particular, Austin. Where do you rate these guys? What Kirby Cannell did to get you out of a jam, the slide by Hunter Ensley, the home run by Dreiling, Combs in the ninth. Where are you putting things? What's your pecking order on remembrances of this?
All of it. I mean, seriously. I mean, how do you not? I mean, because the way the game ended, like, had the game ended 6-1 or 6-3, even, do you even like think about some of this stuff? But instead, like, every run mattered, every moment mattered. The play where the ball's chopped over, Blake Burke's head, Christian Moore throws it to Burke, who wasn't at the bag yet. He steps on it, gets out of that inning, keeps it at 3-1. Then Dreiling, and I literally, it was a moment that I had. I was sitting. I'm going to tell story time here. In 2003, yeah, it was before the Red Sox broke the curse. Yes, 2003. I was at Collegewood Apartments in Morristown, and Brett Boone, or Aaron Boone was at the plate, and Brett Boone was in the booth. And I literally looked at her, man. I said, this is kind of like the Daytona 500 when Darrell Waltrip, hit, was in the booth and Michael Waltrip won. I said, what if he hit a home run right here to beat the Red Sox and throw them to the World Series? Next pitch, boom. I told my wife, I said, right here, he's going to cement the MVP. And boom. And she looked at me and I was like, I don't know. Like that. He's been Mr. Clutch. He's been Mr. Clutch. No, I didn't call anything. I mean, yeah, I did. But I know but like, point is, like, he's been Mr. Clutch. So that's the moment for me. But I mean, Kirby coming in, what a way to go out for him, man. I mean, dude, ice in his veins. And the real moment for me is watching that dude who I know loves the run in from the bullpen and the drone shot of it chasing after him towards the mound. Like, just the way he jogs, the facial hair, the mullet, the whole thing. I've said forever, though, Kirby is going to be, if you've ever seen the movie Dodgeball, he is Steve the Pirate, because years from now, he will come back to campus. Now, I think he's going to go into coaching, right? But years from now, he's going to come back to campus. He won't have the facial hair anymore. He won't have the mullet. And the everybody will go, who is that guy? That guy looks familiar. Who's that guy? And it'll be Kirby, because he's so defined by his look. But that moment right there when he struck out the two batters, to answer your question, it's all of it, Hubbard. I mean, it's every bit. How do you not, relive every bit of it? I mean, Christian Moore's leadoff home run, nobody thinks about that because all this stuff else transpired, but what a way to kick off the game.
Yeah, absolutely. There's to me, the underwritten part of this story, and I know the ballpark's bigger and all those types of things, but when you look at this team, they had the miracle comeback AP from in the Florida State game in game number 1, because you have to have that. You got to stay in the winner's bracket if you're going to have a chance. You're not losing. You're not losing game 1 and working your way back out of the winner's bracket and getting to the series. That's just not very realistic, because you just don't have enough pitching to do it. You take that miracle out of the deal, and really for the rest of the time, the story of this thing is 2-out hitting and pitching for this baseball team. I mean, you look at the 2 starts Sechrist gave you, and the 2 starts that Drew Beam gave you in Omaha. I mean, those were beyond clutch for a team that everybody asked. I mean, this was the question asked in the Mailbag podcast the week before: does Tennessee have enough pitching to win it? And there's part of you sitting there there's a part of you sitting there in the 7th inning wondering if you got enough pitching to finish it, right? Boy, it almost looks like he hits the jersey there, doesn't he? But he doesn't. But what an unbelievable slide there.
Hey,
but
and the check swing against Florida State, I mean, inches.
Oh, absolutely. Welcome to baseball. But I mean, who had Tennessee's pitching being this big of a difference maker for them? You kind of felt like going out there that they would have to win, a bunch of games 12-11, right? 12-10, those types of things. I mean, you're sitting there, and I know they gave up 4 runs late to A&M, but I mean, you hold them to a 1-run game. You look at what you did in that North Carolina game. You look what you did in game 2 of the championship series. I mean, this pitching staff and what they got done out there is pretty crazy right now. Pretty remarkable what they've got.
They just found a way all year. I mean, again, you go back, he who will not be named left. He's a super talented player. Didn't phase this group. AJ Russell misses most of the year and then gets, re-injured, doesn't phase this group. The person that was destined to start this game from the moment of beginning of time was Xander Sechrist. The guy was loosey-goosey. He was fiery. He was unaffected. He was fantastic. Drew Beam was fantastic in Omaha, as you said. They piecemealed this thing together. I loved Aaron Combs all year long. To me, he was my favorite player to watch all year long out of the pitching staff. I just love his fire. I love the movement on all his pitches. he's got that just that look to him. He's fantastic, and right now Eric Kane is crushing it because he has interviewed Rick Barnes, Danny White, Josh Heupel, and just fantastic form. For this group as they're celebrating out there in Omaha right now, and hopefully Eric will be able to join us here before too long and kind of give us the sights and sounds from out there.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, what a cool moment for for all of them, all those guys to be there. I mean, you hear this notion, everything school, all that type of thing. And you'd expect them to be there, don't get me wrong, but it was cool to see them there and to see the enjoyment that those guys had in watching this team play this game. I mean, um, it was really cool to watch and really cool to see. So yeah, Eric's crushed it. We'll have all that stuff for you up at VolQuest, and hopefully he'll be able to join us in a few minutes here. And you never know who else might jump in and be a part. We'll see. I'm happy. I'm happy for all these guys. I mean, Tony Vitello said, he told me in March, he said, the one thing I learned about this team early on is they're a lot tougher than everybody else, than I ever thought they would be. They're a tougher team than I expected them to be. That showed. I'm really tickled for my friend John Wilkerson, because John Wilkerson, we talk about football being in the wilderness, AP, for a long time.
He called a bunch of crummy baseball over.
He's called a bunch of bad baseball until Tony Vitello built this thing. And for him to have that moment tonight, tickled to death for my buddy. His calls floating around out there, and it's fantastic, as you would expect. So just happy for this team and happy for the fans. I mean, it's been a long time coming for Tennessee to have a moment like this. I mean, how many times have fans been ready for one of these, right? And it didn't.
Absolutely.
And it didn't happen. And then all of a sudden, here it is. I mean, Cody says it best: 30 years old, never remember seeing a title. Well, of course not. You've got to be approaching 50 to remember one of those. Think about every heartbreak dollar spent, tear to shed was paid off for tonight. And that's what for a lot of people, that's what tonight is. It's celebration, it's relief, it's exhale, right? It's the curse of something being over. You're instead of waiting on the other shoe to drop, you went and got one done. And you did it, I think, in what is the hardest sport to win one in. I mean,
it is. You have to have so much go your way. You have to have so much go your way. I couldn't agree with you more. You just have to have. I mean, look again. They were so close to being shipped to the losers bracket, and here they are, national champs. And I mean, it just so close. And you know what? Tony Vitello was the right guy at the right time for Tennessee. Not for baseball. Yeah, sure, baseball, but like for Tennessee athletics. Because Tennessee.
What do you mean by that?
Well, because Tennessee had been in the wilderness in football for so long, and basketball had some moments, right? I mean, they had a few nice runs, but even then, like you go back to the Conzo years, to the year with Donnie Tyndall, and then the first year or two with Rick, they were still trying to figure it out until he kind of got it going. And Tony comes along, and nothing's said about baseball, nobody's paying much attention, and he starts building. And all of a sudden he is kind of like visible, like Bruce Pearl was. I mean, he's at everything, and he's he just gets it, right? I mean, he just understands it. And they became a winner. And Tennessee fans were like, oh my God, winning in something, and just latched on. And guess what? Here comes basketball. More. This past year, Elite Eight, tied for the best year in the history of the school. Football all of a sudden goes 11-2, and wins their first near 6 game since the 90s. I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, he kind of, he just kind of come around at the perfect time and was this lovable figure, a fiery Italian that the women love to look at and the guys want to be. And so, like, it's just the perfect time for what he was able to do, and what he's been able to do. And he was the right guy at the right time for Tennessee athletics. And that's the best way that I know how to put it. I mean, again, football will always be king, but man, he's made baseball fun. He's made baseball a spectacle. He's made February through June an event. And it sure wasn't like that ever before. Even back when Rod had it going well, they would make it to Omaha. Then a few years. I mean, think about it. They've been 3 of the last 4 years. The one year they didn't go, they had the best best team, and just picked the much like Georgia in football last year, picked the wrong time to lose.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it, what you're talking about with Tony, he's never. It's been about him, but he's never made it about him. And I think that's one of the unique things about him, that it feels with him, it feels organic, and it doesn't feel sought after. It doesn't feel like he's marketing. It just feels like, hey, that's Tony, the good guy who's going to stay after and sign every autograph that's available. I mean, he crowd surfed tonight after the game in the stands.
Yeah, I saw that
Um,
because
but
Tony does that.
but it feels, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't feel like he's ever searched for the camera. Y- Does that make sense? It just kind of feels like the cameras found him because he's just out and about and among the people. I mean, the number of schools he's spoken at, the number of places he's gone, the number of things he's done at different boys and girls club type places around the East Tennessee. Um, I don't think people will ever know, and he doesn't want them to know. But you're not going to find many people, anybody right now tonight, but even after all this settles down, there's not going to be anybody talking bad about Tony Vitello as a person because of the way Tony's going about his business, which is exactly what you're saying, why it's been perfect for. He's been the right fit for Tennessee. They needed a face, they needed something to sell. And at a time where they couldn't sell football, and at a time where a lot of people wondered where Rick Barnes was going to take the basketball team, this guy, this guy was kind of ballsy, right? He wasn't afraid to stand up and plant a flag for Tennessee. That was kind of his the Italian roots in him, if you will.
Yeah.
And he was just going to be himself, and that was a cool thing. And he's let his players go be themselves, and they've represented him and his program in grand fashion since he's been there.
Let's give credit to the Sports Animal 99.1. Let's give credit to the Ball Network. But let's take a listen to John Wilkerson's call here as he gets a moment that he'll never forget.
The Aggies scored 2 in the ninth, but the Volunteers, Tennessee, the time is complete. They have reached the summit. The Volunteers are the very best in college baseball, and the championship flag has been planted on Rocky Top. For the 60th and final time this season, Tennessee says hello win column and hello national championship. Everybody in Ball Nation can stand and repeat or say with me, while they are wearing black, the national champion is clad in big orange. It's Tennessee over Texas A&M. The final score: Ball 6, Aggies 5. The dream has come true. It's Tennessee baseball.
That is John Wilkerson on the Ball Network. And man, what a ride for everybody involved. But that's a fantastic call by John. And nobody he may not sleep a wink tonight.
Well, and again, I mean, lots of miles traveled on the road um, to call a bunch of bad baseball games, and I mean, you think about it from a historical standpoint. I mean, that game was carried on WIVK tonight, Austin, And I can remember, I can remember when I was working at the Sports Animal and was just getting started with him and Mike. And I mean, it was a fight to get the games on radio. Like people weren't interested. And it was Mike and John who did everything they could to sell Tennessee baseball. They went out and sold it to advertisers. They went out and talked about it every day on Sports Talk and did all they could to make it a big deal. And the first time Tennessee went to the College World Series, it was a bunch of family. It was a bunch of players' families that went out there. I mean, it still wasn't a big deal for fans to go to. It's grown and grown. And then tonight, to be sitting there and you look at, the country music stars and your coaches are there. And it's great that there's all those, big timers there who got on a private plane and flew out to it. But then to hear Rocky Top through your television and to hear chants through and to hear the Orange take over that place is really wild. It's amazing to see how far baseball has come and obviously what Tony Vitello and this program has done. And credit to those guys who came before this team that set up the culture, that set this thing in motion. They deserve a lot of credit for building it to where it was this year to go win the thing.
All right. Now we're going to hear Eric Cain's interview with Josh Heupel. Megan's got it queued up for us. This is Josh Heupel after Tennessee wins the national championship in baseball.
How cool was it being here tonight supporting the Tennessee baseball team?
Man, it's unbelievable fan base with the environment here in Omaha, but to see these guys compete the way they did tonight, but throughout the entire tournament, all season long, really special to have an opportunity to be here in person and watch it.
Really kind of enforces the whole all-vol school, like all sports school?
Absolutely. Like, what Tony's built over his 7 years, the amount of energy, effort to build to this, the group of competitors they have, great representation of Tennessee. It's an athletic department, coaches that care about each other. Just fun for me, Coach Barnes, to be here tonight.
Last thing, I saw you were hanging out with kind of the who's who, Barnes, Morgan Wallen, Peyton. How was your suite? How was your box up there with all those people there?
If you're going to watch a ball game, that's how you want to watch it.
How was it being here supporting Tony and this baseball team?
You know what? Nerve-wracking. Just when we got there, got in those last two innings, and said, let's get this thing over. But honestly, I'd rather be down here. Up there is like, what can you do, right? But just elated for Tony. I mean, I know how hard he's worked, and what he's done is coming in there and putting him in this position is a great tribute to him, but I think to the university too, giving him the support. But happy for his players. This is, I mean, they've set themselves apart.
Yeah.
Continue to raise the bar for all of us at Tennessee, and just a great night to be here.
What can you say about where Tennessee is altogether? Elite Eight, they win it, football's on the rise, so many great things happening on campus.
Well, I've asked Danny White many times, how's this happened? And we all know that we have a great administration. We got a great leader in Randy Boyd, and what Donnie does on campus is incredible. And then Danny, what he's done is really, I'm amazed, to be honest. I've been in this game a long time in athletics and the way this has gone about. But it goes back to the players, the student athletes, and I think all the coaches would tell you that. But we do have a group of coaches at Tennessee that really are proud to have the opportunity and blessed to be there. And we embrace it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And that is Tennessee head coaches Josh Heupel and Rick Barnes. We have a little bit of Danny White coming as well. We'll have time to get that turned around, and I can't wait to hear Danny's reaction to Tennessee's national championship. Obviously, this is just it's a melting pot, Hubbard. I mean, I'm literally getting texts here about a big time recruit that's uber close. Not ready to put that Hubs 50 gif in yet. But really close, Hubs. It's just a melting pot. And let me promise you this: if Josh Heupel is smart, Josh Heupel has FaceTime David Sanders and anybody else that's a who's who down there saying, man, this is what they do in baseball. I'm thinking about you. I can't wait to be doing this with you on the football field, doing the same thing, so on and so forth. So just a melting pot right now on Rocky Top.
Hey, Garrett, I did not cry. I might have giggled, but I did not cry to your question there. And that was a nice tease by AP Garrett. You're exactly right. Well done there. One of the cool things about is Tony is such a fan of the other sports.
Yep, he shows up.
He's courtside at basketball, not for recruiting. I mean, he's courtside there so he can talk junk to some opposing players, and cheer on his players. He's field level. He's in the stands at football games. He's such a fan of things on campus and other sports. And you can hear it in the voices of Josh Heupel and Rick Barnes. I mean, there's a ton of respect that they have there, which is really cool to see. And it's just, great job of Eric Kane to grab those quotes, because you wonder what people's reactions were, and those are two big time reactions there. And Rick Barnes is never shy about opinions, AP, and he has a total belief. I mean, that's as honest and as real as he can get when he talks about how this thing has come about for the entire athletic department, because I think it's caught him off guard, just how much it's all come together in such a short period of time to work the way that it's worked right now. Pretty cool to hear those guys.
Absolutely. I mean, it really is. I mean, it's both guys just happy, man. Happy for Tony. Again, he is there to support, their teams. And, Josh Heupel, truth be told, really wanted to be there yesterday. They had, obviously official visitors yesterday morning. The last one didn't leave campus till after 1:30, and the game kicked off the first pitch at 2. And then, he had a camp the night at Neyland 2.0 yesterday afternoon from 3 to 6. But I mean, he really wanted to miss all that and go to the game, but he knew he had to do his responsibilities as head coach. And you had him, Eckler, Coach Inge, all in attendance tonight, alongside Morgan Wallen and Larry Pratt and that whole group up there. I did see a joke on Facebook. It was like, Kim Caldwell must have been left as the designated survivor back here on Rocky Top, because she was. I just laughed because if you've seen the movie or the show Designated Survivor,
There, I can tell you this: there were more phones being used at a football camp to watch a baseball game yesterday than anyone could ever imagine. And coaches, they would finish a period during camp and they would immediately come over to somebody and go, "Hey, what's the score? What's the update? Where are we at?" That's how engaged everybody was with it, which is again really cool to see for sure. So
absolutely. Now we have Danny White.
Okay,
We have Danny White ready. This is
Danny
Danny White.
For your athletics department, what a night for your baseball team.
So excited. We plan on winning a boatload of national championships around Tennessee, and you got to start somewhere, though. And this was just so much fun to see this group this season to get to the pinnacle moment.
Tony's the man, isn't he? I feel like a lot of ball fans want him to be around forever.
Yeah, no question. I think he's a pretty good baseball coach. I think we figured that part out. But more importantly, he's a great ambassador for our athletic department. We got a lot of head coaches here. He's so supportive and of all of our sports around the department, and we got a really good thing going. And like I've said a bunch, I think we're a growth stock. The best is yet to come.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
That's Danny White. As he said, the first one has to happen. This was the first, and he expects many national championships in all the different sports. And I mean, this is the first year. In a long time, Tennessee's had every sport make the national tournament in their respective sports. So, just everything seems to be going right. And I'm working to see if we can get somebody live from Omaha right now. I'm working.
I know.
You take it away while I keep working.
I've been working a couple people too, just to kind of catch up. I've had a couple people say, "You know what? I just want to go and breathe for a little bit right now." So we'll see. But that's pretty cool to get that reaction there. And obviously Danny White has tweeted out that there'll be news about a parade coming out quickly. That will the turnaround on that will be really quick, just for fans to understand. They're not trying to rush through it by any means, but you got a lot going on. I mean, you won a national championship, and the transfer portal's wide open, and Tony Vitello and his staff have to work the transfer portal hard. Now it's an easy sell right now because you're the national champs, but they have to go work that. They have to figure this roster out. They have to get a roster ready for next year. And you've got a bunch of guys on this team who are veteran guys who are getting ready to go through the draft. Guys trying to get to the Cape Cod League to play some summer league ball. You've got a lot of things going on. So Tennessee is going to try to get a celebration worthy for all the fans and for this team to get. But they will turn that around, I think, Austin, pretty quickly, just because you got so much going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, you really do. I mean, you have guys that are going to be going off to the draft. You know, you're going to have Tony trying to recruit. You're going to have so much going on, and so this is a hey, let's they'll try to do it the right way, the best they can. I'll say this. Here's the group here's the swing in the SEC tonight. You have one school that's thrilled that Tennessee won. That's Texas, and you have the other ones that are so mad Tennessee is the national champions right now. One Tennessee had one school backing them tonight, and that was Texas, just because it was Texas A&M.
Yeah, and Texas thinks they're going to take Texas A&M's coach when it's all said and done. I'll say this: that Texas A&M team's got a chance.
Oh, look at the $69. Look at this.
Yeah. Thank you, Patch. We get it. Again, a Texas fan happy right there that the Aggies got beat. I'll say this: the Aggies, they got some young players there. They're not going away. They'll be around. They're certainly going to be around for a while. That's for sure. So, regardless of who the coach is, they've got some young talent there. Unless a bunch of guys go in the portal, which I wouldn't think. And I don't know if their coach is leaving or not. That's certainly a rumor that's been out there today, but I don't think that rumor had any effect on the baseball game tonight by any means. But yeah, Dustin, you're right. Florida State doesn't like you. That'll be the check swing that'll go down in history for them. They think that check swing, lack of call there, cost them a national title, but they had a chance to get the out the next pitch, and they didn't get the out the next pitch. And you look at what Tennessee did there, AP, with all the 2-out hits that they had in the Texas A&M game, and then all the 2-out hits they had tonight. I mean, to pad that lead in the 7th with all those 2-out hits is the difference in winning baseball games. I mean, you look at all the runners that left on base in Game 1 in this championship series when they got beat. And they left a boatload of them on base early in that game yesterday, but then they found a way to get them home at the end to win that one. And then tonight they made them pay with the 2-out stuff late. Just clutch. I mean, and again, I think the other thing you learn too, Austin, when you watch a team go through this, and obviously when the team you're covering, the team you follow closely, the team you're a fan of is right in the throes and right in the mix of all this, you just really get and understand the value of having a veteran baseball team. There was just never any panic among this Tennessee team. And I know they played Curley, who's a freshman, who did really well out there. I get that, right? And they played Antigua, who made a terrific play that saved a run, but by that sliding stop he made there. I mean, there's some things like that with young players, but really this was a veteran team that just never had any sense of panic in them at any time at all, which was really cool to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you go back to the basketball team. You talk about veterans, and I just think in today's college sports, I think it behooves you to you don't have to live in the portal, but I mean, how big was Snead, portal guy? Cannon Peebles didn't really get hits, but he drew some timely walks yesterday. You can go right down the line. I mean, Tennessee obviously had Billy Amick, struggled a little bit, the last couple of games seeing the ball, but I mean, he was fantastic all year at the plate. And what do you have, 23 home runs? I mean, before the season started, the 24 was the greatest season in Tennessee history, and he missed 2.5 weeks with an appendectomy. So I mean, it's just the older guys, the more experienced guys, man, they really can help you out.
Yeah, they certainly can, and that was a big difference tonight for sure. And again, now the challenge is can Tony Vitello and his program stay hungry? And you worry about that for another day. But they'll have to go to work quickly here. But there won't be sleeping tonight for this baseball team, as they're together for one of the last times, and they are as the king of the world, the champs, the best team in baseball. They were the 1 seed going in. They carried themselves like the 1 seed all the way through. Never blinked, never flinched when it didn't go perfect. And they pushed all the right buttons when you think about it. I mean, you look at the buttons they pushed to manage things. And I know a lot of people question what Tony did in game 1 of the series, of the championship series, staying true to his rotation and how that didn't go very well. But then when the game was on the line and your season was on the line, you had Drew Beam on the mound, who was terrific. And then when it was a 1 game for it all, you had arguably your toughest pitcher on the hill, and Xander Seacrest coming off a short rest, but he didn't look like a guy coming off a short rest. So congratulations to Tony Vitello and Frank Anderson for pushing all of the right buttons the way that they did with their pitching rotation and just kind of how they manage things throughout the year or throughout this tournament, which is obviously the key.
Yeah, 100%. Josh Elander, phenomenal job, and he'll be a head coach sooner rather than later. But again, this is a night that Tennessee fans will remember for a long time, a run that Tennessee fans will remember for a long time. You'd like to think, hey, they'll be right back there, and they very well might. It'll be a retooled group if they do. You have, Dean Curley that will be back next year. You have Cannon Peebles, who will probably be your starting catcher a year from now, but not a whole lot, not a whole lot more than that. I mean, you just have a lot of turnover with some draft eligible sophomores, with Kavaris Tears and obviously the most outstanding player, Dylan Dreiling, and then that group of juniors that carried them from the jump this year and were fantastic. So we'll be a retooled group a year from now. But that's on Tony, and that's why Tony likes to build. So he gets to get out the putty and kind of put it all back together again.
Yep, they did. And Timothy McGee wants to know, hey, I heard Texas going after Tony Vitello. That rumor's been out there for a while. The rumor today is they're going after A&M's coach, although he has a huge buyout. Tennessee is at the cusp of having something ready to announce for Tony Vitello with an extension at Tennessee. Certainly feels like Tony Vitello is not going anywhere. Austin Price. I don't think Tony Vitello is going to be in Texas. I think he's going to be at the University of Tennessee, where he wants to be, and a chance to solidify himself and grow his legacy at Tennessee. He's got all the resources in front of him. They're organized with the NIL front. They've got the stadium renovations going on. They've just got a ton of things going in the right direction there. So I don't think that's a concern. I mean, it's always a concern, but I don't think that there's anything that is of worry for Tennessee fans tonight. I would say this: celebrate the championship, enjoy it.
Exactly. I mean, like it is. We can talk about all the guys that are losing, but who cares? I mean, you get 7 months for you to throw another pitch, like not counting the fall ball. So I mean, like just go have a good time, man. Enjoy it. I mean, how often does Tennessee win a national championship in a major sport? And the last was 98 on the men's side. It was 06, 07, or was it 07, 08? Yeah, 07, 08 for the women with Candace Parker and them. So, just enjoy every little moment.
Yep, absolutely. And we will enjoy that moment. We will continue to cover all of this, from the slide to the pitching that took place, AP, and all the things that took place for Tennessee. We will continue to follow all of that. And Eric Kane will be a part of the Volquest podcast on Tuesday morning, as he is still scrambling around getting interviews and grabbing all that he can get tonight post-game in Omaha. He's done a terrific job with all the coverage out there. And obviously we were happy to bring you comments from Josh Heupel and Danny White and Rick Barnes tonight from there. And we'll have everything up from Tony Vitello and plenty of content from winning a championship tonight, plenty of content throughout the day tomorrow, as well as the podcast, right?
That's right. We appreciate Megan for turning those interviews around, because she had to put pictures over top of them with the format that we use here on StreamYard, and she did a fantastic job of turning that. Better than she's the best in the business for a reason.
Absolutely.
And so we appreciate her, and just keep it locked to VolQuest. It's a great time to be a member. This is to me a golden era in Tennessee athletics, with the national championship tonight, the way basketball has performed, football poised to have a big year with the Nico era in full bloom, starting in just a couple of months. So don't forget the recruiting coverage. Remember, this close to dropping the old Hubs 50 gift. This close.
Real close to dropping.
Big time 4-star too.
So you want to keep that. You want to keep locked into the general's quarters, looking for that gift, because you never know when that might fall from Austin Price. But I tell you what, we're going to let everybody go read everything, and we're going to go get all of our stuff written and done, and get the podcast ready for tomorrow. By the way, the second part of the podcast, in addition to baseball, is a complete recap of where Tennessee is in football recruiting, position by position, coming out of the month of June, heading into the dead period. So we will have that for you in the podcast tomorrow. So it's not just baseball we'll have for you in the podcast. Plenty of football recruiting coverage coming up in the podcast tomorrow. You're smiling like you're getting ready to tell me something, because I'm getting ready to tell you goodbye unless you're telling me something.
No, man. I was just
smiling away.
Love listening to that baritone voice of yours.
There you go. Yeah, that's me, a big baritone voice. All right, that's going to do it. We appreciate everybody jumping in here and sharing your thoughts. Congratulations to Tony Vitello. Congratulations to the Tennessee fans and the Big Orange Nation for being a national champion. Soak it in, enjoy it. You realize how long it's been to get to one of these. So soak in every second of it. Don't get caught up in what's going to happen tomorrow in the transfer portal, or what's going to happen, or this is going to look like, or that's going to look like. Soak this up and enjoy it, because they don't happen often. That's going to do it for this edition of the Rocky Top Rewind. For Megan Gunther behind the scenes, who does all of the legwork to make all of this stuff happen for us. We could not do any of this without her. For Austin Price, Eric Kane for his legwork in Omaha, plenty more coming from him as well. I'm Brent Hubbs. Thanks for joining us on this national championship night in Rocky Top. Have a great night, everybody.